Blessings to you all. Hi, it's BB Ed, and I'm back to share some visions and words that the Lord gave me on the 28th of March. And brothers and sisters, I'm starting with this picture for a very good reason, because the first words that I heard that night were, "Things are taking a turn for the worse." So I chose this sign because just as this arrow gives us a warning that the road ahead has twists and turns and that we must drive slowly and carefully, the Lord has given us this message that things are going to get worse. He's giving us the heads up so that we can carefully navigate these things with Him by our side. So that was the first word. And then very unexpectedly, He gave me a very different vision. I'd like to show you a picture. Yes, this is what I saw. It was a picture of a cake, and the cake was iced, quite lovely and looked yummy, and it was iced on the top. Sorry, there's a lot of glare because it's nighttime. My apologies. So it was iced on the top, but the sides weren't iced. And as I was looking at this picture, the sides of the cake began to crumble, and the crumbs were quite large pieces, and they were falling on the table and on the plate that it was sitting on. And as I was watching this happen, I heard these words, "The cake is crumbling." Now, just before I share my thoughts on this, one other thing happened that night. As I was in a time of, usually it's when I'm just waking or something, sometime during the night I must have gone into a lighter form of sleep, and the Lord gave me the names of two chemicals, and I heard these chemical names so clearly, and I was repeating them to myself so that I would remember them. And I was so disappointed in the morning because I didn't write them down. I must have been overcome with sleep. But for some reason, the Lord gave me very accurately the name of two chemicals. And that's all I can say about that because I cannot remember them. But anyway, brothers and sisters, let's go back to the cake. I'm going to share my thoughts on this, but they are only my thoughts. So if anyone has any revelations from the Lord about the interpretation for this, I'd really appreciate hearing them. But anyway, this is my thoughts. Have you heard of the saying that you can't have your cake and eat it too? In other words, you can't have everything you want and desire in this most wonderful, beautiful, yummy cake and then eat it, because then you won't have your cake. That's what came to mind when I was thinking about this vision. And I think that the cake represents everything that man desires and has, for decades and centuries, built upon to create the world as he sees it, as he wants it to be. Not what the Lord wants, but fulfilling his own selfish desires. He has managed to create this beautiful cake, but the Lord is not going to allow him to get the pleasure of eating it because the cake is crumbling. And I think the crumbling cake represents these end of days, this time in history where all the things that man has worked so hard to create, his own laws, his own desires, they will come crumbling down. And I'd like to share some scriptures. Now these scriptures are from Isaiah chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 12, and it says, "On that day the Lord Almighty will humble everyone who is powerful, everyone who is proud and conceited. He will destroy the tall cedars of Lebanon and all the oaks in the land of Bashan. He will level the high hills, mountains and hills, every high tower and the walls of every fortress." And it goes on about human arrogance will be destroyed, but it says also that the Lord alone will be exalted on that day. Now, I'm sorry if I've skipped through that a bit, brothers and sisters, but please go through and look at it yourselves if you'd like to. In this reading, I'm very sorry about the quality of this recording, but it is night time and it's a bit grainy. But this is 1 John chapter 2, starting at verse 15. Do not love the world or anything that belongs to the world. If you love the world, you do not love the Father. Everything that belongs to the world, what the sinful self desires, what people see and want, and everything in this world that people are so proud of, none of this comes from the Father. Now, everyone, that's what I see the cake is. Verse 16. Everything that belongs to the world, what the sinful self desires, what people see and want, and everything in this world that people are so proud of, that's the cake. And verse 17, this is the crumbling of the cake. The world and everything in it that people desire is passing away. It's crumbling. But he who does the will of God lives forever. Brothers and sisters, as this world comes to an end, these end of days times, as we go into the time of the tribulation, the cake will begin to crumble. Everything that people desire will pass away. But what does it say right at the end here? But he who does the will of God lives forever. And when Christ comes back to receive his church, to take the bride of Christ away to be with him in heaven, we will live forever, ever with him. Praise God. So I think these particular scriptures in 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 to 17, particularly verses 16 and 17, are what the crux of this cake vision is all about. And I just want to finish by reading a couple of verses from Matthew 16. And here we go. These are the voices of Christ and the words of Christ in red. Will a person gain anything if he wins the whole world but loses his life? Will we gain anything by having that cake but we lose our life? Of course not. There is nothing he can give to regain his life. For the Son of Man is about to come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will repay everyone according to his deeds. I assure you that there are some here who will not die until they have seen the Son of Man come as King. So, brothers and sisters, what an amazing couple of scriptures. The Son of Man is about to come in his glory with the angels. Praise God, everyone. So we need to have our lives sorted. We need to be repentant. We need to keep our focus on the Lord, because it is not long until he comes. That cake is starting to crumble. He is telling us that things are going to take a turn for the worse. But it will not be long before he comes with his angels to get his bride. So be encouraged, brothers and sisters. There are some serious sides to these messages, but always he tempers it with the wonderful words and visions and things that he's giving us all that encourage us as well. So blessings to you all. Bye for now.